Yeah.
You guys ready? All right. Who wants to be a traditional project manager? Who wants to be an agile thinking kind of person? Need a volunteer, guys?
Is there a description for either role?
One.
You just said traditional and agile.
Yeah, that's the description.
I'll be the project manager.
So you'll be
Traditional?
the traditional. So, yeah, project manager doing like waterfall process. Is that
Oh,
what
okay.
you're saying?
Sure, yeah, okay.
Good news, you get to go first.
Okay.
All right. So, typically when we play this game, you do a guessing of you shoot a shot, and then the next person will say hit or miss, right? Well, traditional project management, they design the entire project all at once.
So I have to plan all my shots.
You have 20 shots, you're gonna unload. You're just gonna unload all at once. One volley, one time, 20 shots.
Okay.
All right, so we will write it down. Oh, you know what? So don't tell him if it's a hit or miss, okay? We're gonna write it down here. But all 20 shots, let's go.
He hasn't shot him yet, he's just planning.
Should I just say it out loud?
Out loud.
Okay, let's go.
Which is so this
Don't forget to mark your.
No, we're gonna write it on the board, so don't worry. We're
Yeah,
gonna
but
write
you can mark it up top if you want.
Okay.
It's up to you though. Just start calling them out. And they'll-
A1, A4, A6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. B4, B7,
B4, B7,
C3, C9,
C3, C9,
D5, D10,
B5, B10,
E2, E5, F4, F6, G7, G10, H1, H3, I2, I4, J3, and J5. How many do I have? I think that's
20, that's 20.
Yeah,
J5 don't count.
okay.
J3 is your last one.
Okay.
All right, 20 shots.
Did better than I would.
How'd it go?
I've just been calling them
Did
out.
you sink anything?
Nothing sunk, but there were some hits.
Okay. How many hits?
4 on the side.
4 hits. All right. What's your name again?
Eddie.
Eddie. It's your time. Now, you get to make a prediction. Do a shot, and Dennis will tell you if it's a hit or miss. So you can actually walk your shots. Go for it.
So play the usual way, so to speak. Okay, we'll start with B5.
Miss.
I'll put it down below.
C8.
Miss.
D2.
Hit.
D3.
Oh. I'm down.
No, you're fine. You just never really played it like I have back in the day.
How is he gonna know there's no gravity in this thing?
What'd you say? D3?
D3, yeah.
Miss.
Let's go with J7.
J7 is a miss.
Remember, this we typically just walk up.
Okay,
I want to do some
why are
bars
you a
first.
consultant?
Oh,
I don't recall consultants being here.
so we're just retro.
Okay, Kaiser.
We're
I'll back
retro.
off.
Alright, what about C2? We'll go ahead and
C2 is a hit.
we'll go for blood, I suppose. E2,
E2 is a miss.
B2,
B2 is a hit.
A2.
A2 is a miss.
By the way, if it's fully hit, it's a sunk.
Yeah, you saw
You have to say the sunk.
Okay, suck. Oh shit. Sorry.
That's
Here, you can take one back. So,
Yeah, that's alright.
Okay.
so you have one extra.
5, 6, 7,
Um,
8 shots so far.
Let's try G4.
G4 is a miss.
Alright, G7,
G7 is a miss.
F7,
F7 is a miss.
what about E10,
E10 is a miss.
H2,
H2 is a miss.
From 13 so far.
Okay.
what about D1,
D1 is a miss.
I5,
I5 is a hit.
I6,
I6 is a miss.
You're at 16.
H5,
H5 is a miss.
3 more.
okay, I4,
I4 is a hit.
I3,
I3 is a hit and sunk.
One more shot.
alright, we'll just do E8,
E8 is a miss.
All right. Game's done. So we have 2 ships sunk, right? And how many hits?
6.
6.
6 hits. So why is the second one a bit more effective?
You get immediate feedback.
Immediate feedback, right? Right.
Yeah,
So
and then after he has the feedback, he knows like the ship is in that vicinity.
I'm gonna sink you down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one, the first one, he's just doing it blindly.
So we all know how the traditional waterfall project works, right? You get your requirement, then the next one you do the analysis, right? Then you do the design, then you actually have people do the work, right? Then you QA it, and then it's delayed and it doesn't get released, or you have to spend more money, or you have to spend more time, right? And it says, this thing has been tried and true since World War II. Yeah. We have success rate of less than 20%. Now, actually, it's not that great. The last survey says we increased to 50% success rate. Still, right? It more than doubles the success rate, right? And that is what I was talking about, how nowadays a lot of agility does not fully embrace the true agility. There's just too much. Thinking from World War II, that just doesn't change. The funny thing is the person who actually wrote the waterfall documentation in the journal, the second page says, a lot of times it doesn't work because we human beings does not follow the plan exactly, right? And so it's kind of funny that
improvising.
Huh?
There's a lot of improvising.
Exactly. So then why do we want to spend all the time and money on making things rigid and spending 30% or 40% of our cost on something that's planning, design, and stuff? Why can't we integrate it better and faster? And that's what Agile is all about, right? Agility is based off empirical process model. And empiricism says we have 3 pillars we need to follow. Transparency, right? Everything has to be transparent. If it's not, you can never know what's happening, right? And inspection, take a look at it constantly. Every cell or every shot, inspect. Is it a hit or miss, right? In real world, it's not gonna be a binary like that, right? You're gonna have to do some thinking. And then you adapt, right? You adapt to what you found. So it's not just Agile that follows empiricism, right? Any research paper, any documentation, anything that's medical, you have to do all the lab work. It's all about empiricism, scientific stuff, right? But somehow when it comes to project, let me throw that stuff out the window. Let me try not to be a scientist about it. Okay, so this is it, battleship game.
I have a question. Something that I'm curious about is when it comes to being in the agile environment, is it absolutely vital that that there's like an element of like cross functionality within teams? Like, I guess what I'm saying is that my assumption, just based on everything that I've learned, is that like teams have to be able to talk to each other. Like, of course, like I know that, but is it a situation where so many people know so many different hats, or is it more about like knowing your one role super well, and are you still able to be in the agile environment if teams aren't really talking to each other as much?
That's a great topic. We have a lot of answers, and he's got something to say already. Right?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, so just think about like you've got a bunch of work to do, right?
Right.
And let's just whether it's either doing some physical task or some other task, like it could be deploying computers, right? Or something that's not software development. But within that, to actually get that thing out the door, there's a lot of different steps that need to happen.
Right.
And so you might be kind of a specialist in terms of, I don't know.
Deploy computers.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a piece of software that you're that gets put out, and you're the only one that really can install it, or something like that. Just you have a specialty. But the thing is when you're working on an agile team, the whole goal is not for you just to do your job. The whole goal shifts to actually completing the work as a team that you've committed to in the beginning.
The big picture objective.
Well, you're pulling in work in a time box, like let's say a week, right? We're gonna get all these things done as a team within a week. We each have our specialty, and but at the same time, like if this person is out sick or we're busy, or like I really just need somebody to go back through this checklist and make sure I installed all the software correctly, just to check it for me. I don't know, just click, turn it on to make sure it boots up. So it doesn't, you could have a specialty, but at the same time, you can kind of get out of that zone to help move that work to the finish line that you've committed to as a team.
I wonder if cross-functional is kind of like a misnomer at times.
It can be.
Or it's more like cross-capable or like cross...
Being willing to
If you're in for the whole team, then you'd be willing to step up and be like, sure, leave me those instructions. Or it's like,
And you can
pair
have
up and do that one. Next time when you're gone for vacation, I'll take care of it. Or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can even have cross-functional people sometimes just don't want to jump in, so it's more about willingness to jump in
No,
than
that's true. Yeah.
having the skills.
Right. And
That's having a big enough team, but not too big.
Yeah.
And not too, maybe
So
someone's got a big project or they got pulled away for some reason.
exactly.
So their manager pulled them away or whatever.
Under this agile umbrella, we have different frameworks, right? A lot of time we try to mix the two words, agile and scrum, but they're actually two different things, right? Under the agile umbrella, under scrum, we absolutely require people to be cross-functioning. But it does not mean that I need to know every single job in this team of 7 people, plus or minus 2, right? All that means is that we can cover for each other and help each other out. At any given time, we all know sometimes the analysis work needs quite a few of us to get it to the finish line, or the coding work needs quite a few of us to get to the finish line, or the QA work needs quite a few of us. So it's always constantly shifting, right? So what we want to do is do something called a AIM shape skill set. Ever heard of it? AIM. So it starts with, most of us are like this. It's T-shaped.
T-shaped.
One of the skill set that you have is really deep. Let it be programming, let it be analysis, let it be coming up with beautiful front end, right? Then your QA, your coding is non-existent, your levels are very little. This is your AIM shape, right? Moving forward in this Scrum team, we encourage people to work together and trying to learn each other. That's why in the extreme programming framework, actually it's mandatory for 2 people to work on the same computer. Some people even evolve into something called mob programming, which is 6-7 programmers or 6-7 team members, they're not necessarily programmers, sitting in front of one computer with a projector to actually code together, right? Sounds really inefficient, right? But a really good, strong team can actually be much faster doing it that way with very little bugs, right? So the next goal is you want to become a pie-shaped, meaning at least some skill sets, you got to them. Eventually, your skill sets will be more like this, right, N-shaped. But there are still skill sets you don't have, but it's okay. Other team members can fill it in. And main reason is this, I have a great story. I needed a virtual server created. I talked to the admin, and I live in a world where everything is siloed, traditional waterfall. He's a great friend of mine. Oh, I should call Kerschner. We need to go drinking again. He tells me this is his job. This is the only thing he can do. He's allowed to do, right? So I'm like, hey man, Kerschner, I need a server, dude. Hook me up. He's like, yeah, 10 minutes. I'll get it done. Great. Can you give it to me today? No. You gotta send me the ticket. All right, you get the ticket. I get the ticket comes to my hand. It will be done 10 minutes. Cool. Thanks, dude. Because I need it in a month. This is great. I'm gonna get it. Submit the ticket. And what he didn't tell me is that he has a ticket queue. First come, first serve.
I see.
And he didn't get to my 10-minute job to create a VM until 3 months later. So how long did it take me?
To submit the
A
ticket.
10-minute job.
3 months.
Yeah. Okay, there's another one. My system was going down, right? And we all traced it down to network problem. And then somehow the firewall is blocking something that's supposed to happen, and it's somehow blocking it. We talked to the network people. Hey man, somehow something is configured incorrectly in the firewall. Our transaction system is going down. He's like, oh yeah, what's his name? I forgot. Chuck. That's Chuck's job.
It's
Right?
not my job.
All right, cool. Where's Chuck? He's on the 3-week cruise.
Oh no.
Holy cow, when did he leave? Oh, he left yesterday.
Yeah.
So can somebody else do it? No, we're not allowed to touch the firewall. Are you kidding me? I have no transaction for 3 weeks? I gotta talk to his manager. I'm like, hey Greg, what the heck, man? You guys don't have people that can actually be covering each other when they're on vacation? Hook me up. So he, as the manager, have to learn what was done by Chuck, because he's the only one with the password. He doesn't know how to do it, and he figured it out. At least he solved it after 2 weeks. So this is why cross-functioning is incredibly important in a Scrum team. We don't want people to do that, and those are real-life examples that's working at the water company here. So if you see me leave town, it's because I got the word the system's crashing. You ain't got no water. If I don't show up no more, leave. Just kidding. You guys are in good hands. They're really good people that we put there. Right? So think about that, right? Think about that. So cross-functioning is very important. Now let's talk about something else. Ever heard of DevOps or Kanban? That's another framework, right? So they do things slightly different. They have stages of work in the assembly line. They have steps every way. So each one of these could be a step of work, and you just bring your job across assembly line, right? This is your finished goal, where each one of those stages could be somewhat not cross-functioning, but separated, right? But it does not mean there's only one person there. We constantly look at this. We want to see the flows of tickets going through beautifully, right? The pause in between is the time you don't know how long it's gonna take. Like my 10-minute job to stand up a server, 10 minutes here, but it got stuck right here in this line for 3 months. So how long did it take to move to the next stage? That's a bottleneck, right? So that is a place where you need to look at it. Okay, there's a bottleneck in between there. It's 3 months bottleneck. If I add another person, they will be cut down to 1.5 months, right? Government worker, they're not gonna go faster. It's just how it is. And then we could get that 10 minutes, right? So know the time. You never count the time where what's the word? In this world, the clock starts ticking. The moment that's ticking went from ready to in play, right? We only count from in play all the way to the end. How long did it take? It's like, wait, if every step only takes 10 minutes, why did it take 2 months? It's always the hurry up and wait, right? That's where the cross-functioning can come into play. If there's no tickets here, and this person can help out the 2 people that's already getting swarmed here, why not? Right? So even in the world that's assembly line happens, right? DevOps in Kanban came from Toyota production system, right? It's assembly line, physical assembly line in the Toyota factory. But when there's impediment, you know what they do? Everybody swarm to that impediment and solve it. It doesn't matter if you're the plant manager or if you're the...
idea.
Huh?
You can have a good idea, whoever.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're the plant manager, if you're the supervisor, or you're just the lead technician, or you're the intern. Everybody swarms there trying to solve that problem, because what they know is if there's a problem that caused by a part or a process, all the rest of them is going to be bad. We solve it right there, we update it. From that point on, that problem will never be surfaced again. If it's an imperfect bolt, right? You got to make sure all the rest of the bolts are good, or throw away the batch and get the new batch in. Because what they don't want to do is put a sticker on it and then just keep going, ignore the defects, and then at the end, you have another team, because it's not their job. You have another team take the car apart with the stickers on and solve the problems. That's how American assembly line used to work. Toyota says, stop the entire line, we fix it because it's cheaper and faster. The end result is, in 2018, Toyota cars were making profit of $4,000 to $5,000 per car. American cars were making profit of $300 to $400 per car. That's the difference. Saves money in QA. Waterfall will work if you're okay with, say it's live with 1,000,000 bugs, and then you always have a bug list that's getting fixed. They use accounting tricks to actually hide the cost of hiring QA people to fix the bugs, right? My car still have bugs.
Question.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile, so the cross-functional thing makes sense, obviously. How do you reconcile when you've got people that should be a part of that cross-functional team,
But don't want to, right?
or aren't allowed to, oftentimes?
Yeah.
Like the organizational structure, or very like, this is my kingdom, don't touch my people,
Right.
sort of energy that you see sometimes.
Yeah, that's absolutely a problem, and that is a culture shift thing. So it goes beyond the scope of what Scrum is about, what DevOps is about, and what Agile is about. It's literally a culture thing, and it's very, very difficult to solve that, right? So we can talk about how good, how effective Agile is all about, but you need to have that huge change in culture. Some companies are born that way, right? A good example is a lot of these small companies that start out in the garages in San Jose, they cannot afford a certified project manager. It's just too much money. So they go for something that's lightweight and easy and quick to turn, because they only get $1 million of funding. It will run out in 3 months, right? Your runway is only 3 months long. You don't have time to do projects. You have to pivot. And the reason we call this thing Agile is agility. We can pivot, we can change. We are constantly doing inspection and change our shots. So for that reason, a lot of those small companies used it, and it was so beneficial they became Magnificent Seven, right? Big tech companies, they use a lot of these thinking and mindsets because they don't have time for project management. But once they get up big enough, they start to introduce things.
Like, oh, we can save.
Yeah, then they become Dow Jones Industrial Average kind of stuff, right? 100-year-old and really slow to move and cannot cope with the market, and some new startup from garage takes over. That's just how it is, right? Once you become big, somehow traditional college graduates with MBA degrees start introducing what their beliefs are, and the company just naturally slows down.
Or they just get bought.
Or just get bought. Yeah.
Or, I mean, So when I was working for a contracting company, I mean, it was really important to manage people's hours and burn down and how much are we spending for maintenance on this particular thing. We want to turn a 15% profit on this contract, things like that. So there are, we've been talking about Agile and things, but the way that I've kind of approached it is that Agile and the Agile mindset and some of the frameworks are the way you execute, right? But to some degree, there is some benefit to using things like a Gantt chart so that you can see everything, right? The work that's there.
That's just a visual.
Right, so like to visually see
So there's
things, it's
understand what
easier
you
to understand and plan.
Interpret it.
But at the same time, you want to make sure that the way you plan is aligned with the way that your team actually works and the way that they're able to quantify the amount of work that they're doing using relative estimation.
Yeah, so would like to add to that. The CEOs and CIOs will go to a conference, right? They bought into this, bought it back and says, hey, team, you're gonna do it, right? And then what happens a lot of time is because the company and the team does not have psychological safety, they can never tell you exactly how long it takes for anything done, right? Because it depends. The answer is always, it depends. And
Which is somewhat true, but.
it's somewhat true, yeah, it definitely is. Somehow they ended up with this. They get the transparency, and then the CEO don't care no more. I just got the transparency now. I don't care about inspection or adaptation. And that's when culture you talk about, like how do you change the culture? It's tough, right? Some people don't want to. There are people in the government sector, like I did the same thing for years. This is what I do. My job is secure.
Yeah.
You're not taking over my job. I'm gonna resist you however I want to, however I can. I mean, my last consulting gig was with the state of Virginia. They use computer that's so outdated, they need to import South Africans because they're the only ones during apartheid was still using mainframe system with that language. They imported 13 South Africans into Virginia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, which language was it?
Co-op?
No, it's older than that. I forgot what it's called.
That.
Yeah.
Was it for like a non-IBM mainframe?
I believe it is IBM.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. All I remember is they were having a humongous scare because there's only one data center left that still have these mainframes in there because they don't have it in-house anymore, right? And there's no replacement parts, right? So they've been trying to get rid of it.
So they've been trying to.
And then the Virginia DMV is like, please don't get rid of it. Without it, we can't do anything.
You need to start building a new one.
They have tried 4 different projects in the past 20 years and after millions of dollars,
No.
not done yet. You know.
I had a question about what you just said about mature companies, but sometimes it applies, well, it's more also mindset. Like I have a friend that has a very young startup. It's just him and a developer, and he's going to bring other developers in, but he's having a problem with the original developer being like, my code, my baby, mine.
Yeah.
Which is, you think like, okay, I mean, it gets into the cross-functionality. Like, you can be cross-functional and still have people go like, well, I built the source code, so it's mine, I mean, even though it's not anyone's.
Yeah. So for some reason, I love to work with younger people for that reason.
Okay.
Maybe because of educational. When I went to school, all my chairs are facing this way. I have a little desk, right? Teachers get to whip my ass if they feel like it. Happily, here we come! Let's go! Right, drop your pants! So, but when I saw my kids going to school, they're in pods. Big table with 4 or 5 of them, they're working together. They are born to be collaborative, right? So the younger people, they seem to work really well in this collaborative environment that's agile.
So it depends on the educational environment they were brought up in.
I don't know. This is my theory,
Yeah.
but I do notice that when I hire seasoned
I know
developers,
this developer, he's not old.
My question is, have
He's probably in
they,
his 30s.
yeah, have they worked like a traditional job before?
that's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been like,
Experience
he's
in
been a
hiring
loner,
culture,
he worked for a lot of startups in the beginning.
Mhm.
He
Just
does-
have them be the code reviewer.
Huh?
Problem solved.
Yeah. Once those chips are stacked up, it doesn't matter what generations you are.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
You're used to,
All those chips on their shoulders.
yeah, no, it is this collaborative thing. It's like,
I
it's
love.
like how do you change that mindset? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, where you don't necessarily ever own anything. I mean, it's never, even if you wrote the code, it's not really yours either.
I love hiring fresh out the college kids
Mm,
because they don't have those chips on their shoulders unless the professor just injects some
That's what
chips.
I'm wondering, if it's educational or cultural or.
Yeah,
I
A
think it's
little bit of
everything.
column A, a little bit of column B.
Yep, it's everything.
And understanding like why they still want to hold on to it, you know,
Okay.
like what's their personal reasoning? Is it they don't trust anybody else to do as good a job?
That's their fear.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay,
what's the
it's driving it.
exactly?
Probably got burned before, you know?
Yeah, it could be. Or, you know, maybe just doesn't have a high opinion of other people. Like you were saying, code review, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
but yeah, it just takes time and like persistence and kind of viewing it from the other person's perspective to understand their reasoning behind like the why, and then
Yeah.
start making shifts and being like having a consistent message to, if you're growing your team, you want to be consistent with like, hey, this is what we're doing. We talked about working together as a team, and you know, just if you're doing a stand up, frame your stand up around that instead of like, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And you know, do I have any impediments? It's how, okay, this is the work that we've got. This is the things that got accomplished. So what do we need to do today to get together to, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's how are we gonna get this like one more step further?
Yeah.
I agree with that. That might be also like a good pressure test to see how they react to it, and if they end up being the like, I just want to own everything, I don't trust people, then you kind of have your answer.
So this is where Scrum has a role for that kind of situation, which is a Scrum Master, right? It is the relationship building coach of the team, right? That person is not technical, that person is not managing the project, that person is managing the people. That's one aspect that's really, really important. But also that's the problem with Scrum right now, because you can take a 2-day class and all of a sudden you're certified Scrum Master.
Right.
But do you really know how to interact with people?
Sure.
Do you not really get to the bottom of why that person does not want to share his code? What are his pain points? How can I make him feel better and more secure, right? Or is it just an ego thing? Is he one of those players that plays online games?
It's a little bit ego, but I don't know, or pride or
Right.
whatever. You know,
Right.
it's like slipping through his fingers and now. Or job security, I don't know. I know a little bit. I know
Yeah,
the
what
founder
exactly?
better.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think those
Why
things
is-
are probably valid too, but like,
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
point, it's like figuring out like kind of if there's trust in everything, figuring out why could it be solved.
Right. So once we find the why, can we find a work together that we can actually solve for this why? Can there be a solution, right? How can we make it such that it benefits both the team and the individual? A lot of times it's like, this is how we do it, or else.
It's very literally.
Nothing works. Even in Scrum, it doesn't work. Right? You need to collaborate and build the relationship. Oh, by the way, this guy's really good at it. You make friends.
Yeah, dude.
Tell me stories.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I just started with a new team and there was no, let me preface this, they're all really good people in what they're doing. The thing is that there was very little structure to help guide what they should be doing, right? So management is seeing things from the outside and they're really not pleased with the amount of things that are getting done. in the time that they're being told that it would get done, right? So typical, I'm a manager, director, and I don't have transparency into what you're doing. So what I did to start with this team is we started, just ad hocly started doing Scrum and started pulling things onto a board. We're using Azure DevOps at this point, we have a 2-week meeting every 2 weeks with our stakeholders, and I just let them know, I was like, hey, this is gonna be like 100%, this is not perfect, but we're gonna get there eventually, and let me show you how. And it wasn't me going to the board and showing them things, it was literally like a graphic of like four things. It was like, this is what we're gonna do in these first 2 weeks. We're gonna capture all the work, and then we're gonna train the team on how to execute that. And then the next 2 weeks, we know you need some way to see, at an executive level, all the stuff this team's trying to do. Cool, we'll do that. Quite frankly, I don't know what that looks like right now, but we're gonna work on it during that time. And then at the end, we're gonna do a retrospective at the end of this month. We're gonna do it both with the team to see how they're doing and get some feedback and figure out how we need to change. And then also, I'm gonna have one with you. It won't be as long, but I want you to feel that you can provide input to us and make sure that we're meeting your needs, and it'll be a specific time for you to reflect on that. Because when you're in an hour meeting, you're trying to pull in work and do all these other things, and things are happening, there's no time for reflection. So we're creating space for that. And then so I just trained the team this last week with Scrum, and I noticed before the training that there were some individuals that worked well together and some that were kind of just on their own and doing their own thing, right? And it was a matter of just continuing to ask the questions, right? We use the board like I explained, right? We've got a story, we've got a bunch of things that need to get done to get that accomplished. And then whenever I went to that person, I would just say, how are things going with this? It's okay, I need to do this. Okay, well, there's a due date at the end of this sprint for this work. Can we talk about it a little bit more? And then it was like, wait, there's a due date for this?
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't spring it on them like at the end, like 2 or 3 days from the end. It was like a couple days into the sprint. And so getting that person to speak more about more details, communicate more, just trying to figure out what that, the person's silent, but the rest of the team, we all need to know what you're doing so that we have ideas and different perspectives. So, and in doing that, other people, chimed in and asked some clarifying questions. And so now, slowly that person is starting to, express themselves more. Sometimes their expressions are silence. Like when they get interrupted, they go silent 100%. And I made the mistake of interrupting this person just to throw a little joke out there or something like that. And then it was quiet, and I was like, hey, sorry about that, and to interrupt you like that. You want to go ahead and continue? And then they just kept going.
Was it a funny joke?
I thought it was funny.
It's still interrupting.
Yeah, it's still, so
Yeah.
but it's understanding the people too, because in Scrum, if you go to the manifesto and look at values,
People
it's really about people and working
Interaction.
together and
Yeah.
interactions and communication and making things visible so that not only the team knows what's going on, but everybody else above you. So yeah, and at the heart of it really is just listening and being cognizant of that everybody's different and has a different view.
I would like to go back a little bit about when we were talking about daily stand-up. There was a instead of individual report versus a team status report, right? I also want to make sure that we don't do status reports at all.
Mm.
Right? Daily Scrum is not a status report thing.
Well, I know that sometimes people think it
Right.
is.
Yeah, and one thing I actually asked the managers not to show up on those things because everything becomes a status report, and people start saying things like, 2 weeks ago, I did that. Just because the boss is here, I'm gonna let the boss know everything I did. We don't need that,
Right.
right? The thing is always about, this is what I finished, right? Together today, this is what we're gonna do. I might need your help, so can you and I meet up? Okay, I got this problem. I need some technical guy that's really understand this thing with the credit card thing. Can somebody help me with this? Dare to introduce what I need help on today, not tomorrow, because that's what the next day is stand up, right? Like today, I'm working on this. I want to close this out. Who can help me out? Who can hook me up with this? Who's gonna work with me? Okay, I'm gonna get the coding done by noon. Who in the QA can help me test it out so I can close it out by the end of the day? Stuff like that, not related to the status report.
So we got 15 minutes and we've been doing a whole lot of talking.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna do a
Normally
little
we don't
copy.
like to
Yeah.
talk a lot, but yeah, and have more interaction, but just kind of based off of what we've discussed, do you see some of this working in your current environment, or are there any other questions that, I've worked, like Kanban with both the development team and an operations team. I mean, are there any questions around that? Like, if you see, like, hey, I think this is good, this is what I do, how might we take a look at that?
Yeah, I guess I have a question. How strict have you seen, or do you like adhere to the whole like minimizing work in progress, like the number of cards in each lane?
For Kanban,
Yeah.
that is a tough one. for
That's the
sure.
law.
Yeah, exactly, but that's kind of foundational to
Yeah.
the work in progress in each lane. Yeah. So
I
what
mean,
is,
it'll highlight obviously the like, deficiencies or
yeah,
where things is
but at
needed.
the same
But
time,
then there's the how do you elevate that?
right,
So-
and so that's where having that, you're in a Kanban system, so, just so for folks that,
Kanban link can change however you want to, right? So you create your own thing. While Harrison is drawing it out,
The framework itself is sort of flexible, so to speak.
yeah, you can build as many lanes as you want or as little lanes as you want, right? Sometimes they even do horizontal swim lanes for some high priority stuff, but just make sure, do as little as possible to show correct data and to help you see the flow. Doing more does not necessarily mean
Who
better.
holds the keys to what lanes get added?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, we've been talking about different systems, but no matter what, you think about it, you've got a backlog of work that is kind of like continually getting ready to be worked on, right? So you've got people that are pulling things in, getting questions answered, having this discussion with the people that are actually doing the work. Do I have everything for you? Maybe it's easy. Hey, this is the person, this is their machine, this is their software. Okay, now we're ready to work on it, right? And then we've got where you're executing, but at the same time, you want to make sure, just like I told those executives, like, we want to have a specific time for retrospective. Like, we need to be constantly looking at the flow. And so that's the thing with Kanban is understanding, where not only your points of stoppage are, but also like, hey, we've been doing 5 here. What happens if I do 6? We're seeing stuff come across the board. I really don't see anything getting, but I see that, some folks aren't as busy. Can I increase a number or decrease in a particular area? But those are like discussions not to have like just by yourself and just throw out there. The whole thing is a collaborative environment whenever you're doing this. So the idea behind Kanban is to like maximize the flow from start to getting it accomplished. Right.
So, yeah, anytime I see a work with number that's higher than 3, I get concerned, okay? And that's with the qualifier saying the teams are small, 5 people plus or minus 2, okay? If you start having a team of 50, you need to break them into little teams. They have their own little Kanban board, right? And operations team, here's a team I know, they have a Kanban board. They say Scrum don't work, we're gonna do Kanban. Okay, let me teach you how to do Kanban. Oh, we just want the board. Then they created a totally different system from us so they can lock us out. They purchase a different product that does the exact same Kanban thing, so we can see it. I'm like, hey, let me talk to CEO, let me get the access. I got the access, I looked at it. They have about 8 lanes total, and have over 150 stickers. Think about that, right? How are you gonna work, right? There's only a team of 12. You have 150 stickers in play, each one of them projects. And then
Doesn't get done.
a year later, I look at them, very little changes, they stay where they are. We have projects that's been there for 3-4 years, stuck in right before QA and just never got QA'd. Like, how important are those projects?
I have a question. When does having the retrospective, like, is that in one of the lanes, or is that?
No.
Because it's,
Okay.
so with Kanban, it's a continuous flow of work, right? So you have to like schedule a retrospective in a certain time, like maybe every 2 weeks, or, you know, maybe if you're working for a contracting company and they're not really jazzed about having 10 people stop working for like 2 hours, then you have it every month instead of every 2 weeks. Like,
The biggest problem will be somebody like to call in here retro once the project is over. Once you want to do it during the play, right? That's the only time you can improve, right? The operations side that I told you with the 150 stickies, they love to do a retro after the project is over. Guess what happens to every single one of those action items they learn? It never gets done, never gets used, project's over. Oh, until the next project.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. They always say it's a little bit different, so therefore we can use it. So those things are called post-mortems, right? Project is already dead. You cannot resurrect it. So don't do post-mortems. Do retros during the work. Okay. I recommend once a week if you can. Retros are quick and short. You can play games like that. Invoke thinking. The goal is not to blame people. It's not to blame the management. It's not to blame the customer. It's just say, how can we make it better? Even if it's a little bit better, it's better. That's how Toyota production system works. They have a Japanese word called Kaizen, right? Kaizen is constant improvement throughout your life. Okay? So even if it's improved by 1%, holy cow, 1% 5 years ago, it compounds that interest, right? So we make our benefits. Don't wait till it's over 5 years later.
yeah, definitely. When you're doing these, make sure that so you'll have, what do we do? You know, what's going well, what's not going so well, and then sometimes you can throw in like another, like, does anybody have any ideas or something like that, right? Like another column to throw some stickies in. Make sure you're time boxing things. So, you know, for 5 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and fill this board out, right? And by using time boxes, you'll make sure that you have enough time to discuss each piece. And then coming out of that, I usually pick like the top 2 things that we want to improve as a team. And we vote on it and figure out like what's going to be the most impactful, and then we figure out who's going to do that and own it and help with it, and so that it actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, it's important what he said. Don't pick 50 things to do. One action item is all you need. Right? If you want, make it a sticky and put it here. Right? Number 1 priority, get it done next sprint, or get it done next cycle of retro. Right? You do good enough, you'll end up liking him, looking like him, right?
Bald.
When he, yeah, no hair underneath that hat.
Man, no, please, it's gone. Not in
So shiny, my eyes.
I know,
Oh my
right?
god.
I don't let it grow out because it's gray from folk. Like they just. They
So,
make me afraid.
So I got a great story to tell you. He finally decided to quit his job and go to a new job, right? His instant message chat from one of the employees was, no, 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 no. Return? No, 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 no. That's how important it is.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
not
how
just
cool is
that. It's being able to make those connections with people, and that's what I focus on. And I might not be able to do the work, but I can ask questions and be that smiley face, the only person on camera, and and be the one and ask questions not in like a hey, damn dude, did you get that done yet? But like, hey, where are we at with this? And, you know, looking at, hey, we've got like 3 days left in the sprint. Do you need some help? Can somebody else help? I mean, is there something you can section off? Like, try to find the solution. And it kind of, like I said, I can't say it anymore. It like comes back to communicating and working with people and letting them feel safe that hey, it's okay, dude, that you didn't. You know, that we're 3 days to get this done and we haven't started QAing it. What do we need to do today to help you out so that like we can get this done and we look good, you know?
You look good already, dude.
Please. That's like 10 years ago. But yeah, it people and relationships. I can't say that enough for
Yeah.
and even as a developer, like or the person doing the work.
Communications, relationship, those are the most important things. That's not even within the scope of Agile, right? It's just life.
All right, we got 5 minutes. Anybody have anything else?
All right. So, how'd you like this?
It's okay.
It's
We
all right.
talk too much.
What's
More
the-
games.
What's the
Like, yeah.
I enjoyed the roundtable sort of aspect
Okay.
of it. And there was some structure, so that was good. Like it was the game and then straight out some topics I wanted to make sure I covered. So
Right, we typically what we do is something called lean coffee. After we do the exercise, we pass these out. Everybody write down what you thought, right? Your questions, your statements, something you want to share. And then we democratically vote on the highest topic and we talk about it. I was gonna do that, but then we just started talking, so you know what, let's be
Yeah.
loosey-goosey. It's Happy New Year, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
that's pretty relatively small number too, so it's a little bit easier to
Yeah, actually, in these weird. Sometimes we get so much people, sometimes we don't have a lot. And our main thing is it's not about how to make money, okay, or how to get people's money, or
when you get things done,
Yeah.
When you get things done, you end up having more money.
Right.
It's not really fashionable. It's not AI. It's not crypto, but it really is something that can help you in your career and in your life. You know, follow these things. It works.
Yeah, and so next time we'll probably do lean coffee. And so if you do end up coming back and you want to bring something from your work or, hey, I've got this one problem, should I even throw it up on the board to get like some ideas flowing from other folks? So,
I have
Yeah.
a game,
what?
thrashing game.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
Flashing game.
Yeah. So we kind of mix it up. We don't always play like the same stuff, you know, but
Should we do a lean coffee and then do the thrashing game?
man, let's
Do
we'll
y'all
figure
need
it out.
is it always a tech alley?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're kind of lazy. We're kind of glued
Yeah.
to Tech Alley for 5-6 years. Actually, I glued to Josh 5-6 years.
Yeah, I've been coming.
I mean, it makes
for a month
sense.
and a half.
This is only my second like tech alley, and then
Mm.
it's sort of like I mean, it's like the scrum of scrums
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
but for a bunch of other, but yeah, a lot of startup.
Mhm.
Yeah,
funding,
there-
investor.
There's a lot of startup, investor
It's
stuff.
fine.
It wasn't like this. Originally, it was just 3 things. We had the AgileNV, we had the developers thing, and the UX thing. That was it. It was purely technical. And then, but
The diversity is cool.
yeah, but we started having a lot more of. I think one of them is called "Where's My Money," right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Catchy title.
Yeah, that'll get you in there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the first one I went to was like a UX One last time, just because
That's
I
cool.
hadn't really done much in that world, and
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. I
That's,
think you were there.
Yeah.
He's a UX guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so. Well,
Thanks for coming.
yeah, thanks for coming. There was free food. If you want to hang out and talk with Will and I, we're usually getting the free food and sitting at the bar. And so,
A little over at the on that side.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I'll tell you the story how I bought a brand new car and broke it.
Yeah, that's at the bar story for sure.
Is it your Ferrari?
Huh?
Is it your Ferrari?
No, it's not the Ferrari. That's not a brand new car. I bought a Plaid and I broke it. Yeah.
You broke a Tesla?
Huh?
Yeah.
You said a Plaid?
Yeah, I bought a Plaid and I broke it. I have videos to prove it.
Man, I can see the over-the-air update breaking it.
Huh?
I can see an over-the-air.
Oh, no. It's my own fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hated the yoke. I decided to swap out the yoke with the steering wheel.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that thing earlier today.
Hate the yoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you put in the round steering wheel?
Well, in the process of it, I decided to rip out the clock spring, which you're not supposed to rip out by accident. I might look skinny, but I'm just as strong as Harrison. That's a lie.